Welcome back to a family business podcast. We've got an intriguing episode for everyone today. There might be some misconceptions across the board on different brokerage styles. So, we're going to jump in and kind of address potentially some public misconceptions and kind of dive into personal experience and so forth.
Yeah, I think one of the things I want to clear up right off the bat is a cloud brokerage isn't anti-office. I don't know where that misconception came from, but wouldn't you guys agree?
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And I really think that's the reputation that it tends to get when you don't know about them.
Right. And there's always the um I think playing devil's advocate that, hearing cloud brokerage, okay, sure, where it's up in the cloud, you're at home and so forth. But you actually have to, with everything, do your due diligence and understand what specifically comes and what are the benefits, pros and cons to each thing that you look at.
Yeah, when I hear cloud brokerage, still, right? And I guess technically we would be what we're at would be considered a cloud brokerage by definition, right? I think of like people floating around on a little cloud, like the Charmin commercials that we used to
Yeah.
see. Do you remember those, Brad?
Well, I mean, I have to be quite transparent. When EXP very first came to the Quad Cities, one, it was kind of one of those names. I was like, what is that? But that's what I kind of pictured it as, was this cloud brokerage. I mean, I had heard, oh, it's a cloud brokerage. I'm like, and I'm just thinking about clouds and like nobody really talking to each other, and they're just out on their own.
Lots
So
of
that was
passwords.
my impression, not knowing what they were.
Passwords?
Yeah, lots of passwords, login information you have to remember,
Exactly.
so forth, right
Yep.
across the board.
No meetings,
Yeah.
just off on your own.
Yeah. So, I think that there's just a lot of noise about it right now. And I think it's because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but because a lot of the main players in the marketplace to now are what you would consider a cloud brokerage model,
For
right?
sure.
And I think that, people have to understand like this isn't attacking anyone. It's not about really brick and mortar or traditional versus cloud. It's just really understanding how the industry is evolving. And I think that the more information people have, then the more informed they are and they can make the best decision that's for them, right? I mean, a cloud brokerage is not for everyone, right? A brick and mortar, office space is not for everyone. Traditional brokerage is not for everyone. There's just different things, and we all have to like really just figure out what works best for us, right?
Yeah. And I really think that when we look at the cloud brokerages around here, there certainly are ones where they don't have an office, and they are on their own and they don't have the training. But that is the misconception, I really think, a lot of the times, is that we don't have a community, right?
Sure. Yeah. There's no culture, there's no community, there's
Yep.
no one to turn to. But as what we're seeing in our specific market and in other markets across the United States and the North America, um, that's just a false a misconception, right?
Yeah.
And so when we dive into specifically what is a community, I think the issue or mindset behind a community is local, right? But really what it shifts to is a much wider pool of people that you become into a community with, and what a special um, pleasure that is to have and share the same space with somebody that you don't even live in the same state
Yeah.
with. It opens your mastermind of brains that
Nice
have
pun
success.
there.
Yeah, exactly, right. That just can pour into you and share their amazing success stories and systems and way that they do business, not just only in your market.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was probably one of the biggest fears when we started, just exploring what else was out there. We knew that we'd reached, I guess, the ceiling where we were at. We knew that we needed to make a change for our own business, what we wanted in our future for our clients. And one of the things that was a concern for us was the lack of what you would say, quote unquote, community, right?
Sure.
And I can't agree with you more, PT. We would say, Brad and PT, but I would definitely say that I feel like I have more of a community now in the real estate space that can help elevate me, educate me, and us, and how and the next things that we want to do than I ever did in the traditional model that we were here in our local market. Now that might not be the same for everybody. Some people want that, but for us, I felt like I was in my own little cloud at that previous brokerage. It's just the way that model is built. There's not as much togetherness. And we've talked about this a little bit before. It's more competition, right,
Right.
than collaboration. So you kind of feel like you're out on your own.
Yeah,
And I think when there's more bodies in a tighter space, that creates more contention, right? More tension, and that's maybe potentially what you're kind of leading on to, Andrea. But the biggest key for me is that, okay, when you think about people that want to go learn and sharpen their skills. You might go to a conference or you might do continuing education, but what that's turned into for us in our community now is that it is every single day you are able to see somebody on social media that you never knew before. You're able to connect with them via masterminds or education plots placed within live events that are put on through the community and so forth. So, we struggle when we go to conventions because they're all packed into one day, right? But now that you can spread that out and just have that focused on each day that you move forward is so powerful.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, as you were saying that, PT, it makes me think about, I mean, Brad and I were very, forward thinking in that matter, and really started going to national conventions and national trainings pretty early on after I joined you, and probably because I knew that world, right, from my corporate world. But the interesting thing is that when you are, in that more traditional model and you're more hyper local based in what you're doing, even though you go and you try to expand your knowledge and better your the things that you offer, services for your clients, when you go to those like once or twice a year, you just don't have those connections,
Sure.
right? You see someone speak, you get some great feeling or great things that you bring back, but you don't have that follow-up connection, right? And I think that's the biggest thing for me that I would say is different in the cloud model is that there you do, right? There are all these different masterminds, Slack channels, Zoom huddles, different groups that you can be a part of. Like you said, in our real, we have Real Academy. You can learn all different things and connect with people there. So for me, it's like I think the biggest thing is that understanding that like just because we're sitting in the same building together, it doesn't mean that we have collaboration or community. I think that's the biggest thing. So I think we can pretty much smash the misconception that cloud means no community. Would you not agree?
100%. And you brought up a lot of good points there that because we've advanced so far with all the technology. I mean, Zoom, what are the other one? Teams,
Slack.
Google Meet, Meet.
I never
Yep.
even knew what
Google
Google
Meets.
Meet was.
So
Sorry.
you have all these options where when I got in the business a long time ago, and even when you did, those weren't options. So I could see back in the day where the brick and mortar that made a lot of sense that you were around people that you would be able to learn from. That obviously most people can't hop. Most people can't hop on a plane all the time and go to masterminds and conventions, but now that's totally changed where you can literally get on a Zoom call with all kinds of agents all over the country and get great ideas that we're not even using here yet. And they're so willing to give. And that's been, I would say, when I look at where we are now and where we were at before, it is the cutting edge technology that comes out of these agents that are always looking for the newest and latest and greatest thing.
Yeah. So we've botched that misconception. So I think one of the other things is people think that there's no accountability, right? And
Mhm.
that would be a big misconception of a cloud brokerage. And the craziest thing is that we talk about this. We've talked about this in there. I talk to our state brokers more now
Mhm.
than I did when I was with our previous traditional model. And they also actively sell and are up on all the trends that are happening in the different technology. So I find that they're definitely holding me accountable, right? They want me to learn and get better. They want us to learn and get better. There's also, the whole thing with rev share, which I think the cloud model gets like this it's like a bad word, right? Revenue share. You're making money off of someone else. Guess what, guys? Someone is always making money off of someone else in a business. That's
Right.
why it's a
Yeah.
business.
And that's not even the point of it.
No, but I'm
What
just saying.
it really is there for is that when you invite somebody into the company, you are being compensated to help them get to the next level, that it should give you accountability towards that person, that you're always there if they would really ever need anything, which is the total opposite of most real estate companies, where you get into the business and some may have a good training program, but then you're just really kind of out there on an island, and you don't necessarily have a mentor. You don't have that person that you are able to go to. When you're sponsored into a brokerage, that sponsor is going to be personally responsible for what you do, and they're always there to help.
Yeah, you're not going to be left in the dark.
Exactly.
And we talk about relationship growing quite a bit recently, right? More on the side of, outside of the industry, more with the consumers. But it's also important to grow relationships within the industry, who you work with, who's in your company, and so forth. And that's on you. People want to hold you accountable, as Brad and Andrea said. And so strengthen those relationships, whether it's your broker or agents within the state that you are licensed in, or even outside of the state. Um, those relationships get stronger because we want to meet new people. We want to learn from other people. And then they hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Those people want to see you grow. They want to see you have success, not only because it helps them, but it helps everybody at the end of the day. And that's the culture aspect that's kind of tied back into everything as well.
Yeah, and I think every cloud model has a different way that rev share works. I just really, really, really like the way that Reels is set up, and we've said this a lot of times, but it's really just it's more about producing agents, right? Like they want the agents that are actively selling and working in the marketplace, not just someone who's trying to build a network for a rev share.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great, and if you want to do that, you can do that too. But that's really not the way we're set up. And the crazy thing is too is going back to what you just said, PT. It's so true because if you attract someone to your company, whatever company you're at, your whatever brokerage you're at, right? You attract them. You obviously care if they're successful, right? But at the end of the day, let's just break down what's broken in a traditional model. In a traditional model, the only income you make is by helping people buy and sell real estate, right? So, although you have the best of intentions of helping that person that you've attracted into this brokerage succeed and you want to do that, you also have to pay your own bills and support your own family, right? So that's broken because at some point you have to put yourself first before someone else. And because you're not benefiting anyway financially by helping that person, you're just doing it because you're a great person. The great thing about Real and a lot of other cloud brokerage models in the way that they have RevShare is not only do you get to have that, where you want to help them because you want to be a good person, you want to see someone grow, and that's a cool thing. You also will benefit financially from it. And it's taking nothing out of the company's pocket and it's taking nothing out of the other agent's pocket. The way that Real's revenue share system is set up is phenomenal in that aspect. The other thing that's crazy, and we're not going to break it all down today, but it's willable, right? Like just think about that for a minute. So it's just like someone who builds a traditional brokerage. Their goal is to attract agents, hope that they sell, and when they do and they pass away, they will that brokerage to their children, right? Or that income. Well, the average agent doesn't get that opportunity, but you do in this kind of scenario because you can build a network. You can help build up the agents in your office that are in your network or throughout the United States and Canada. And that is willable to your children or willable to, I guess for us, it would be our dogs. No, I'm just kidding. It goes to our nieces and nephews. But, that's a cool thing. So to say that you're not accountable, you're going to have people holding you accountable because they want you to succeed because then they succeed, right? That's a cool thing.
Quite honestly, you're much more accountable than you would be in the average brick and mortar, that the only person that really cares is the manager, who is probably making something off of you, and then also the ones who are running the brokerage. Outside of that, I mean, I know there's a lot of great people out there, but they're a lot more motivated when there's a little bit of financial incentive. And when you bring somebody into the company, like you said, I mean, they're kind of your responsibility, which is really cool.
Well, and what's wrong with that? Can we just, I don't
Nothing.
understand honest to God, what's wrong with that, right? Like, it doesn't matter what you do in life. Like, if you train somebody like my niece, let's just use this as a perfect example. My niece goes to A&M. She works at Chick-fil-A as a job. She just got, I don't know how much a promotion per hour. Do you know why? Because she's training people.
Right.
Like, so why would you not get compensated for training
Yeah.
people? All right. Have we boshed that one, or you got something to add on that, PT?
No, yeah. So no community, no
Accountability.
accountability, and then I guess a lot of other perceptions too is that there's no physical presence. The biggest thing is that offices are optional, right? They're not mandatory. We like talking data too. I know Brad loves data. I would love to see what the number of percentages is that how long an agent actually spends their time in an office, right? So at the end of the day, it's just the way that the industry is shifting for the agent. They are able to do more work from home. They're able to, and to be honest, they're out of the office for the majority of the day, anyways. And then they go home and they do the rest of their work. So that is kind of the instant killer there, in my opinion. But you and Brad literally opened a brick and mortar under a cloud model.
Yeah, and when you were at our old office, at one time, if there were 5 people in there, that would be
Busy.
a lot, and
Busy.
it's like it is now at our new office as well, and that's why you don't need the big brick and mortars. But it is nice to have a building. Those of you that are looking to go to a quote unquote cloud brokerage, it's nice to have a space so you can do trainings, so you can meet people, and we offer that, and it's a nice space. And the only time that it's really, 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 really busy is typically when we have trainings and for office meetings.
Yeah, and how cool. It's just like you just said, PT, it's optional, it's not mandatory,
Right.
right? And that's the great thing about it. When we were looking at opening our brick and mortar spaces, like we knew we didn't want it to be too big. Cause you know what? I didn't want that overhead. We wanted to have that be the least expensive as it could be, really, in the whole scheme of things, because we knew it was not going to be utilized in a manner that you think it should in a traditional model. Because we just talked about, people do Zooms, they do masterminds,
Yep.
they do Google Meets.
Right.
If you're out selling real estate, ding, ding, ding,
Probably
you're
not sitting in the office much. Yeah.
no, no. So, I mean, that's a big thing. But the other thing that I wanted to say about that is that having that brick and mortar was important to us. And so I think that is what's cool about Real's model is you have the flexibility to do that if you want to. And the reason why it was important to us is because of our market. We just felt we needed to have a home base, right? That we could, like you said, have a conference room, do training. So, that is absolutely not true. We have a office. A lot of cloud brokerages have offices all over the country. There's lots of them that have co-op spaces that they work out of. So that's a don't worry about that. If you want to join a cloud brokerage, you can find an office.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So you can sit on your cloud in the office.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, I mean, there's, and even the ones that don't have an office. I mean, like in the Quad Cities here, we've got a really, really good real network here. So we've got events that we do, at least once a month. So there's always going to be that community, and there's always going to be an office that you can stop by to say hello. So that is not true that we don't have a community, and we do have a physical presence.
So I think one of the things that, we need to get into is what the traditional model really at its core doesn't want to admit about why it's broken, right? And I think the biggest thing to that is that for most of them, there's large splits because they have overhead they have to pay for. There's franchise fees. As an agent in a traditional model, you're probably paying for office space that you don't use,
Sure.
right?
Mhm.
You don't have that option to be a cloud agent in the traditional model. You also are paying for staff that you don't oversee, you don't control, you don't know how much they hire or don't hire or what they do, and also systems that you don't choose to use or not choose. You're just forced to, whether you like them or not. I mean, at our previous brokerage, we bought all of our own technology because we didn't like what was offered, but yet we were still paying
Paying
for
for
that
it
in our
outside.
split. So the cloud model really just flips that, right? I mean, it's totally the different script. You have lower overhead. You're an owner in the company. You have equity. You get revenue share. The tech for real anyway is in-house. We own it, right? So there's no additional expense for that,
Well,
right?
and let's just go to that. So, at a traditional brokerage, you go to your closing, you go back to the office, you hand in your paperwork with your check, and it depends on how quickly that office administrator wants to turn that around is when you get paid. With Real, you literally come back, you all
You
you
don't even
do
have
is,
to come back to your
well, you don't have to
office.
come
You
back
could
to
just
the
be in your
office.
cloud.
Right.
You literally go home if you want to, and well, let's
Or
take it one
do it
step
from your
further.
car.
You could do it right from your phone.
Sure.
And you just upload everything, and typically you are paid the very next day. I mean, it is so smooth, and that's all that overhead that they don't have to pay for.
Here's the beautiful thing about it. The guardrails within the traditional model are much tighter.
Mhm.
They're much more guarded. There's a lot more rules and regulations. Um, when you potentially explore cloud brokerages, that just moves the goalposts on what you're able to do, what you're able to control, and what your destiny is at the end of the day. I always continue to have the conversation that there was a whole different world that was opened. It's like the blinders were taken off at
Mhm.
some point, to just exploring all the amazing avenues that someone can be successful in the real estate industry, and not just selling residential real estate, commercial real estate, and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's pretty
and
amazing.
Brad and I have talked about this before, and we still sell real estate. We still enjoy to sell real estate. But really, in the previous traditional model, one of the things that became very clear to us the longer we were in it is that that was the only way to make money, right? And you can buy investment homes and all that, but then again, you're still sharing that split with your traditional brokerage, so Real also has options for that too.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things, because that's exhausting
Mhm.
after 25 years to know that you have to continue if you want to have an impact in your community, if you want to continue to give back, if you want, continue to support your family. Yes, you can invest, but you still have to keep buying. It's like I use the analogy, you're on a hamster wheel.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't get off it, right?
Yeah.
And Real just changes that. So I think the biggest disruption is it's not that a cloud brokerage doesn't have offices. Really, I think the big game changer is that again, going back to different streams of income, you are as an agent are part of owning whatever we're building, right? Whether it's a brick and mortar building, whether it's the cloud itself, you're part of that.
Yeah.
So,
Agree.
let's just break this down. Why is it that we went to Real? Let's just if we can hit the hot scale. What am
Hot
I?
buttons.
Hot
Hot
buttons.
buttons, right? On what made us go to there and why it's working. What is it that we love, like in the nuts and bolts of it? Not just that we love it, but what do we love about it?
Well, we covered the first one, like ownership in our own business, right? And that's something that's freeing. That's something that's it pushes you to at the end of the day. It gives you more of like, okay, here's so much more greener space to dive into and be more successful. So that's kind of the first thing for me is just your ownership of your business.
Yeah, and then I would say the next deal is all of our tech is in house, which I mean that's unheard of in the real estate business. So we own our own tech, so it's constantly being updated all the time. We we're always on the cutting edge of everything real estate wise. And that includes not only outwardly towards the general public, but also our agents too. I mean, how we get paid quickly, how we know exactly where we're at all times. We don't have these outdated systems.
Well, yeah, and the biggest part about tech is not just for us, right? But it goes back to we're in the world of AI, people.
Yeah.
Like the people that embrace that, Real has embraced technology and the AI. We have our little sidekick Leo. That I mean, today I was on a Zoom this morning with a new agent, showing her like even something I didn't know. I just quick asked Leo, it popped it up. There we go, we're done. Whereas the other model, it's like you got to email somebody, you got to call a boy, like it's there's so that makes you as an agent more inefficient, right?
For
Which
sure.
gives you less time then to spend with your buyers and your sellers and your clients, right? So I think that's big. But I want to talk just for 1 minute when we're talking about, we've talked about the stock, the revenue share, all the things, right? Okay, and you talked about the tech, but one thing that's really been mind blowing, which I'll be the first to say that we sitting here did not embrace it fully like we should have, is Real Wallet. Can we just touch on that for a minute, you guys, and
Yeah.
all the ways that we've learned that is freaking amazing?
So Real Wallet is through Real.
No,
And
really?
you actually get a debit card here in the US that you can earn points on. And you can also earn points by having your closings go into Real Wallet, and you can use those points to pay off your transaction fees.
Right.
I mean, it's just incredible.
Which let's be bet you don't have a transaction fee until after you cap with
Until
Real,
after
and
you
it's
cap.
very
Yep.
minimal. But yes, you do have a transaction fee, and then your E&O.
Yeah.
But yes, you just like you get points, to get a hotel room or a rental car, you get points towards your any fees or any expenses that you would have within the system. I mean, how awesome is that? The other thing
It's
that I
incredible.
think's great about that, is the tax account that you have in your wallet. And let's talk about the credit.
Real capital.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
I-
yeah, the ability to, based on your potential closings that you have in line, you're able to pull that credit uh, upon approval to get a credit line if
Yeah.
you need cash sooner than what it's going to be paid out as.
I didn't realize this. We've had 3 agents in our office that have used this that just rave about it. One, she bought her husband a new truck and, she could see what was coming up in her closings. They didn't want to pull any money out of it, any investment or any of her stocks or any savings like that. So she used real wallet or used real capital, took out the 20 grand to buy the truck, I think, I don't remember what the exact interest rate is, but it's very minimal in comparison to what a credit card would be or anything like that. And she put it in. She got the money, bought the truck, and then literally her next 4 closings, it took whatever out of it, and boom, it was paid off in
Yeah.
60 days. And she was
Quick.
mind blown. And we have another agent who just used it because, again, he just wanted some extra money for vacation. And it's just, you don't have to, there's no credit check, there's nothing. Like you push a button, they put the money in your account. There's people that also use it for investments, right? If you're buying an investment property, you can use it for your down payment. I mean, it's just amazing to me. But the other thing I think is cool is just how easy, like people that have different, maybe you are into investing and then you have your normal real estate business for buying and selling real estate. And then you have a revenue share or any of those other things, right? You can literally decide where that money goes out of your real wallet. It's just amazing. So I think that's pretty cool. The other thing is scalability. So our sponsor here at Real, well, my sponsor, I guess, is me. I guess PT sponsored by us, right?
Yep.
Here at Real is Karen Cooper, and she is in the on the East Coast. And the craziest thing is she has a team, as do a couple other people, that they're literally building their team on a national level. She doesn't have to be licensed in all those states, but she is building her team on a national level. So a cloud brokerage also gives you the ability to scale, right? That where you're located at doesn't limit your opportunity. You don't have to go and figure out an office space in Utah if you want to open an office space there. You just find someone you can connect with or you've connected with, and you start building a team there. So it's collaboration is borderless. You can just do that.
Yeah. I mean, you can really do it anywhere. And like we had talked about too, you don't have to have brick and mortar either, right? I mean, so that's one of the advantages of Real is if you want to do your own thing, great. But there is always the option of it. That's what we did when we brought Real here to the Quad Cities. We have built the culture up locally.
Yeah.
Where we have, like we said, I mean, one of the drawbacks about cloud brokerages, they say, is that there's not a community. Well, we have completely proven that wrong by our events that we have. And it's almost like we're running our own brokerage right here in the Quad Cities with all the support that Real offers on top of it, which is a dream scenario that when we left our old brokerage, we had considered opening up our own brokerage. And my dad said, you don't want to do that. You want to go to a company where they allow you to do what you want to do.
And support you in it.
And support you. And that's exactly what Real does. And it's really been a dream deal.
So why do you guys think that why is it that cloud brokerages get like this negative connotation, or why do you see pushback? Why is there people that are like, I mean, we ourselves, I mean, we
Yeah.
were one of those people, right? I think a lot of things have changed in the last 3 years since we made the switch. But why do you think that?
I can answer that real quick. It's that the perception is that it is a lot of agents that really do not know what they're doing. They don't have, the business background. They're not the top agents. Well, that is completely untrue anymore. When EXP originally came to the Quad Cities, there were a couple of pretty big agents that jumped over there, but nothing like Real. When Real came to the Quad Cities, it was amazing how quickly a lot of the top agents went right away over there. And we've kind of proven that you can run this just like a traditional brokerage, but not have all the overhead, all of the costs. And you can be a big player in the Quad Cities.
In
Misconception.
any market.
Right, exactly. And misconception comes from not being educated.
100%.
And
And I
so
was one of those before.
right, and just not having the conversations, right? It's easy to come up with theories and thought processes, but if you're not educated or not having a conversation about it, then you're going to be led down the wrong road, and that's exactly what's going on here.
Yeah, and obviously if cloud brokerages weren't successful, they wouldn't be a topic. I mean, that's the thing, right? What do people say, Brad? If they're not
If they're
talking
not
about
talking about you, you're not a factor.
Yep, that's true.
so so as we said at the beginning, like we don't believe that the cloud brokerage is for everybody, right? Not everybody wants to float around on a cloud like those Charmin commercials back in the day. But I think the biggest thing is that there's not a one model fits everyone, right? I
Correct.
think you need to yourself as an agent explore all the different things out there, explore where you want to go in your future real estate business world, and determine what the best way is to get there, right? Choose what you want to do based upon, or choose a brokerage, whether it's cloud, whether it's brick and mortar, whether it's a traditional brokerage, whatever it is. I'm sure there'll be something new, and figure out if it fits for you, right? The future of real estate it's not where you sit right now. It's about what you own. And that's, I think, the biggest thing about a cloud brokerage is you own part of it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's anybody want to add thoughts on
No,
that?
I really think that's cool that we're all shareholders of Real. So we are all owners of the company, which, that kind of really takes it to the next level too, right? That you're one of the owners, which is really neat. And I just, after the almost 3 years that we've been now at Real, which is crazy, I can't believe the ease of everything that it really offers. Like I had a lot out of these worries were in the back of my mind when we went, and I will say none of those came true. That it's been a much easier process, and it's been incredible.
Well, and I think too, adding to that, like we just kind of went through all this, but there is a misconception that cloud brokerages are cheaper. Well, they're not cheaper; they're just leaner. I mean, they have to plan, they scale, especially Real. I can't remember how many. Tamir just did a little podcast about this, where I think Leo covered like 10,000 questions and answers from agents last month.
Yep.
Just think about, as a traditional model, what you would have to have in place to be able to handle 10,000 questions from your agents in a month. I mean, so it's scalable, right? The other thing, the big thing is wherever you're at, the culture doesn't come from the four walls or the cloud that you're on. It comes from the leadership. You need to align with that. You need to be surrounded by people that are helping you to grow, right? And it doesn't, I mean, you're off, everything is mobile now. Everything's on your phone, your computer, your iPad. I mean, what's these new recording devices for meetings? I mean, and the biggest thing I think too, and maybe this is why cloud brokers have really taken off in recent years, is because I think the pandemic proved that we really didn't need physical offices spaces as much in order to be able to scale. We were just having this conversation with our coach before this,
Well, and that's absolutely true. Well, I can say one thing that's been on my mind too is that when I got into the business 26 years ago, you had to go to a larger brokerage that we didn't have online. We didn't have any way that they would be able to find you. And the brokerages held on to everything. And they were all brick and mortar brokerages back then, but they literally had MLS books that the realtors, you would have to come to a real estate office in order to know what's on the market. That's totally changed now. So it's gone from broker centric to agent centric in the last, especially 15 years or so. It's totally changed, where I truly believe that most clients go with their agent due to the agent, not the brokerage.
Right. Right. And, what I would leave you with is don't be afraid to have the conversations. That's only going to allow
Agree.
you to open your horizons, understand what is available for you to be successful. So have the conversations, educate yourself. That's only going to better you for the future.
Agree.
I have a couple rapid fire
Oh
questions
boy,
here
we've
before
done
we
these
leave you.
before.
And then we'll sign off here. But the first question is, after more than 2 decades in one structure, what made you finally question it?
I think the biggest deal there was we were paying a lot of money. And at the end, I didn't feel like we were getting a whole lot out of it. And that's no slam against where we were at. I just think a lot of traditional brokerages, that's just how they run. And like I said, at one time, I like had in my mind that if we were at this company and we had our reputation, that that was a great combination. And I truly think it was. But once we started to really think that we want to build our own thing, it just kind of took the confidence to say, let's just go ahead and try it. And I'm glad we did.
Yeah, my one word would be, and it echoes everything Brad just said, but I'm
Oh,
gonna
were
sum
we only supposed to say
no,
one word?
it
Oh,
doesn't, but you just wow, that wow. My one thing would just be limitations.
yeah.
That's the biggest thing for me is it was just very limiting to the vision that we could see moving forward.
The blinders are on. What changed more, your culture or your economics
Wow.
after you switched to your
Both.
previous brokerage?
I mean, both. Wouldn't you agree, Brad?
Yeah, I would really say both. I would say more importantly, culturally, it is it's more of a team, and what I mean by that is not like a real estate team, but more that everybody's working with each other, and they're truly happy that you're really doing well
Because we own it together. We
because
all
we
the
own
better
it
we all do, the
together.
better we all do.
That is correct.
All right, I have two more for you. Were you ever told this is just how real estate works and then realized it didn't have to?
Yes.
Yes, I think that especially Brad being a third generation realtor, I think that was hard for him. And I think those there were many years that Brad had conversations with his dad, and we worked through that. And your dad's happy for us, and we're all happy, and we're all
Yeah,
good.
yeah, and I mean, obviously, it was very, very tough. But I really thought for a lot of years that this is how it is, and I would see agents leave, and I would really be like, ah, that's crazy to leave. I mean, but that's a big risk, and then a lot of them did really well. And that's nothing against our last company; they're a great company. They've been around for a really long time, but I truly think that real estate has changed a ton, like I had mentioned in the last 15 years or so.
There we go. All right, we'll leave you with this. If you could go back 5 years, would you have made the move sooner?
100,000%.
Yes, we would have made the move. I mean, I can speak for you. Well, you just said 100,000%, but I'm a very loyal person, so that was the hardest thing. When you looked at the model between the two, there really was not a comparison, and there were a lot of times when we really said that this is too good to be true. And quite frankly, it's been just as good and even better than I had anticipated.
Yeah, and I'll only add on to this, and PT, you know this. I think that this is something Brad and I had talked about for a long time. It was time for a change, right? The where we were at no longer aligned with our future vision. We just didn't know where the next place was for us, right? We had to do exactly what we said before: explore everything, really do your research, your homework, talk to people to know that
Yep.
you're making the right choice. But when you decided to join us in the business, we just knew that we didn't want for you where we were after 15 years for me and 20 years for Brad, or 22 years for Brad.
23.
Sorry. So we knew we had to make a change, and once we saw the real model, we just couldn't ignore it.
Yeah.
The blinders were off. We knew this meant new things for us and our career and our clients, and we also knew that it meant unlimited opportunities for you in growing your business as an agent that was getting in and going to do this for a lifelong. So
100% agree with that. And I really think the hardest part was leaving the people.
Right.
I mean, that was the hardest part. But when you looked at what each of the companies had to really offer, it was a no-brainer. And glad that we did it now.
And we're surrounded by
onward and upward.
great people
Yes, we
at
are.
Real, just like we were in our previous
Exactly.
brokerage.
Great people there as well.
That's right. So if today's episode stirred something within you, and you're like, maybe I should have the conversation, shoot us a DM. We're always willing to have conversations and just walk through, our personal experiences and what we fell in love with. So shoot us a DM, and we're here to have a conversation.
Peace.
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 All right. Good job,
Job.
guys.